All right, I think we will get things started here. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up and participating in this. It's a great opportunity to find out what's going on in the rest of the world, but also to hear from somebody that's been in the industry for a very, very long time. I'll just do some quick housekeeping things. There will be a break from 3 to 3:15, and there'll be coffee. If we just go to like where the registration was, that's where we can get our coffee and things. And obviously the bathrooms are just outside the door there. So some of you guys know who I am, some of you don't. My name is Grant Mackay. I'm the owner-operator of Mackay Equipment Sales here in Saskatoon. We've got a location in Saskatoon, but we've also got one in Lethbridge. We've been a Landmico dealer for, I think, 4 or 5 years now. So come on in. Don't worry. I'll give you a brief history of our company. The company was incorporated in 1979 by my dad. He's the guy sitting at the back there with all that gray hair, and I know what everybody's thinking, and the answer is yes. I'm responsible for most of those gray hairs, and as you can tell, I stay until the job is done. That's why he's completely gray. But he incorporated in 1979. We started out in the pig business, actually, on the farm just by Aberdeen, and that's where the business originated. And then in 2008, when the pig business, 2007, 2008, when the pig business kind of slowed down in Canada, we really shifted our focus and became more poultry centric than we ever had before. Where before we focused quite a bit on pigs, and I would say our majority of our things we did was within pigs, but now I would say the majority of what we do is within the poultry industry, whether it be ventilation, heating, those kinds of things. In 2016, my wife and I bought the business from my dad, and we've been lucky enough to work with some of you in this room, and we look forward to doing that again in the future. Also, I've been lucky enough to know Tommy for a very, very long time. He actually worked for us in 1990. He'll go through his work history, but I'll let him do that. But in 1990, he actually worked for us for a year. So he knew me when I was 3 feet 6 inches tall. Now I'm 6'3", but I'm 3 feet 6 inches around. So it's been a minute. But he has an absolute ton of experience, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with him. He did one of our other main suppliers is Scove on the ventilation side, and he worked for Scove for many years, and now he's moved over to Landmico. So he has a lot of stuff to cover and a lot of stuff to go over. So I won't prolong my portion of it any longer, and I'll introduce Tommy Crow.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming. It's always a pleasure when actually people want to show up. Please shout there in the back if I'm not loud enough, then I'll try to change that. I hate microphones because then I have to stand here, and so I hope you'll survive with me with my voice. Yes. Everybody layer people, or some is here of curiosity from other side of the chicken business. Doesn't matter. A chicken is a chicken. So what we're talking about here on the layer birds, I would say we can use probably a little bit in general, some of it on birds as such. Please feel free to ask questions. From now until 4 o'clock is 2.5 hours, unless you use the break to slip away and say, now I've heard enough of that man. So please ask questions. It gets a little bit more interactive for all of us if you do. If somebody gets too dominating, I'll shut them down or ask Grant to carry them out. Tommy Crow is my name, and correct. I've only been with Landmico since October 1st last year. So my last trip to Canada and US just before 1st of October, some people were calling me a double dipper. So anyway, because I was probably talking both about Sko and Lamego. Good. Yeah, you can see me here, but there is together with my chickens. I'm actually an electronic engineer background, started electronics back in '82, but that was for a ventilation company called Sko. And they quickly found out that I didn't like to sit in the office, so I was actually driving quite a bit of service in the early years. I picked a very low number when I went to the army test, so I was put into the Danish army. Being an electronic engineer, I was actually repairing the Leopard tanks that we have just donated to Ukraine. So I hope they don't call me up and say they need me to come and repair them. Anyway, I was in the army for 2 years and then got a call from Sko and asked me to come back and be service engineer. '89, I was on a 3-week trip here. Eldon was a little bit less gray hair at the time. I think you're right, Grant?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've been a part of the reason also, but we basically had 3 weeks where I was in Canada, and the idea during the trip came up that I should move to Canada and work for my car equipment, so I did. 1990, anybody in here know what special that was? Can anybody see what this is? Gibson's Finest. They had 85-year anniversary. I bought that carafe back then. Then there was probably Gibson's Finest in it, but now it's just rum, but I still have it. 1990 was also the first time I saw ice hockey in my life, and he was a bit faster then than he is today, I believe. And the wife didn't like it here, so moved back and was with Sko. Moved to Asia in 2007. Yeah, I started to find Europe boring. Very difficult to get planning permission. I want to build one house. Maybe. So coming to Asia where we build a new farm, 20 houses, and we have the land already, we can start tomorrow. So I helped build up the Sko office out there in Asia. Living in Bangkok, traveling all of Asia. Then Aviary, the breeding company for broiler breeders, they approached me and asked me to do a seminar for them on uniformity in breeder birds. Ventilation's effect on uniformity in breeder birds. What I didn't realize was I was in a room like this with a little bit fewer people. But it was actually a job interview I went through. So I ended up being employed with them. I was with Aviary for 3 years, being a tech service manager. And I learned a lot about chickens in that period of time. Getting chance to go to Holland, learn this very high stocking density production and so on. A tech service manager's job is to go out and try to get you guys to do something better than you're doing today without having any, you can say, legal rights to tell you to do things different. So to me, it teaches you a lot about how to try and influence people with what you're proposing. Anyway, back to Sko, and then I was so clever that I ended up getting married out there and got kids. So we decided to move back in 2019. And then here, 1st of October, I got to Lamego. Enough about me, except these were the two that was the reason I moved back to Denmark. Clever guy, in the age of 52, I got twins, and they are 9.5 today. To try and keep in shape, Eldon had this morning been doing a bit of hockey, and probably had a beer or two after the hockey. I have a gymnastic team I participate in when I'm home. So every Tuesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. we do gymnastics. A lot of fun. I did my first forward flip in the age of 56. But I tell you what, when 100 kilo come into a trampoline, they come out again. And if you do like this, then you actually do a forward flip, so it's not that difficult. Good. Already back then, when I was in Canada first time, I kind of promised myself, like, I'm far away from home. It's different religion and everything. I should not talk about three things. I should not talk about religion. I should not talk about politics. And what was the third thing I thought I'd better stay out of? Any guesses?
Lighting.
Light programs for chickens. You're absolutely right. To me, light programs for chickens is like religion. If I believe it works, I'll fight for it. And you think something else is working, you'll fight me for that. So, difficult. This is to me a good breakfast, or at least a good start of a breakfast. A couple of eggs, and then, I don't know, you see, sneak a little bit of bacon in behind. That's not too bad. Good. Let's get to the part that you came for. Can you hear me in the back? You okay? Good. Thanks. Right. I'll go through first a little bit about what's happening in the egg industry around the world. Why do I think that you should consider free range and barn production more than enriched cage? Then I'll talk about the rearing period of the bird. So going through, if you want to rear a bird for an aviary system, what should you concentrate on during the time that you have that bird, the first 18 weeks? Then we'll have a break, 3 o'clock, and then I'll talk the rest of the time on the production time. So when we're transferring the bird into the lay house in an aviary system, what is it we have to support for the birds not to lay floor eggs, have a high feed intake so they can lay an egg a day, and so on. So getting the highest possible productivity out of it. That's the agenda for today. We at Landmeco have never made cages. We have always been looking at free range and aviary systems. Sorry. By the way, it is water. I'm not hiding something else in here. For your information only. Very brief history about Landmeco. The family have done chicken since the 30s. To me, Landmeco was founded about the same time as Eldon founded Mackay Equipment. So they're late 70s. By a guy called Søren Egelund Andersen. He wanted to start making his own equipment for their own chicken houses. So there was factory, there was egg packing, and there was chicken production on the same premises basically. And that has grown from there. Today we're owned by an investment company, but doing well. I'll talk in Danish kroner now. 3 years ago, we had a turnover of 90 million. The year after, 170 million. And last year, 380 million. What is that in Canadian? 45 million. But 4 times the turnover in 3 years. It's gone a little bit fast, and that's probably one of the main reasons I'm there, to try and help. Good. Why are we here? Why are you here? I know why I'm here. I'm here because I get salary to be here. And I would assume that you're probably here because you think you could get some knowledge that would make you better so you can make more money in the future. So you're not here just to be entertained by Tommy, you're here to learn something so you can make more money, I assume. Rightio. There's money in everything we do. So let's remember, where is our cost hidden in egg production? I think you already know when you think that a huge block of the production cost is in the feed. What is the second biggest cost of an egg production? The pullet. The first 18 weeks, she's producing nothing. We made a huge investment in that pullet, which is close to about 20% of the turnover or the cost we have in egg production. And the next biggest after that, that's probably depreciation, paying for the houses and the interest of the houses. So all the things we think about in the daily life, we have to save on heat, we have to save on electricity, we shouldn't employ too many people, that's too expensive. That's actually peanuts. On the depreciation, the equipment inside the building is probably only 30% on your total investment. So don't choose the wrong equipment. You will suffer the next 25 years with too low productivity. So choose the right equipment. If we look at prognosis, this one going to 2033, the prognosis is that broiler production will increase by 22% and egg laying production will increase about 21%. We're in the right business. Never mind the cattle and the pigs. We keep growing. In Europe, one is shown like this. You can play with the y-axis and you can make it look very steep. But this is actually only a 3% increase, so anyway. Goody. First, just a few notes from around the world. Like, there will be more and more free-range production everywhere in the world over the next years. That is the prognosis. When I say free-range, we probably just have to agree. There's cage, there's enriched cage, then there's what they would probably in the US call barn production. You call it what?
Free run.
Free run, exactly. And then free range, that's when we also have the birds so they can go outside. And then come organic on top of that, so to say. Good. Consumer demand, animal rights people shout louder than most of us. So a lot of things are pushing us towards it. Hey, when McDonald's take the decision to say, we do not want any more egg from cage free. Okay, they do it and they're worldwide. So sooner or later, some of those big companies will take those decisions and it's pushing that way. But Tommy was talking about money before, so let's get back to that soon. If we take the average growth, there the 5 to 7%, making up to 22 over a few years. It might surprise you, Asia is actually also start looking quite a lot into non-cage production. I'll try to say non-cage instead of free range. Non-cage. And obviously Northern Europe and here, North America and Europe, there's a lot of people influencing us to go this way. If we look at the distribution in Europe right now, there's about 38% cage, enriched cage. There's about 40% barn egg, 16% free range. So having, it varies a little bit, but having about 1 square meter per bird of outside land they can go out to X number of hours a day, depending on weather conditions and avian influenza situation. And then the organic accounts for just below 7%. Little bit higher in Denmark, a little bit lower in Italy, so it's like that. If we look at the US, these are 25 figures. I think June, July 25. It was around 30% non-cage, and they claim that what have been built last year actually does that today the US is on 40% non-cage. The aim is to go to 2/3 in 27 or something, by the end of 26, sorry. 2/3 hens in free range production, meaning non-cage. They're free to walk down on the floor. So, they have a bit of a way to go still. Last year, we alone did more than 2 million bird places in the US. So last year, about 50% of Landmeco's turnover was in the US alone. So we're coming here a bit, just south of the border. Eldon, you remember that goose hunting trip where we were in, what was it? Where was it? What? Sonnevan, Saskatchewan. And we ended up in a hotel. It was goose hunting season, so there was not enough room. So we ended up sleeping in a bed together. And it was not a double one. We got 2 pillows, so we laid foot to foot, so to say. But it was not pleasant. So we had plenty of alcohol before that. And during that session, somebody said, "Who want to go and piss on the States?" Oh, sorry, I didn't want to talk politics. Here is a European cost of production. So, conventional cage, enriched, barn, free range, organic. And you can also see the cost distribution. By the way, you're welcome to take pictures of the presentation if you want. If I'm standing like this, please don't take pictures. So erase that from the No. Contact one of the Mackay guys or me or Henrik afterwards if you would like a copy of the presentation. We'll be happy to share it. That's really what I say.
So the 21% in the barn aviary versus the conventional, what is the biggest cost more in this 21%, making up that 21%?
It's a order, and for sure, some of it is the long term.
So when order is, what is it though?
Yeah, it is probably what you put on the floor. It is the extra material you give them to play. It's the extra land cost. It's a lot of things. I don't know it down to the point, but I will get back to some of the costs where we look at how big a percent is it, and we'll also look at egg prices in Canada and have a feeling for can it make up this extra cost. I hope I can sneak away with not answering you very specific.
Tommy, I can maybe help a little bit with that. In aviary production, very often you'll find growers that will throw bales of alfalfa into onto the floor. So you're giving the birds a random, the access to a random selection of fiber, which in turn is actually nutrition. And you can speak about the feed side a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah. Here's an example from Asia. Global Food Partners, GFP, they are an interest organization out there trying to lobby for more cage-free production. And they have done model barns a few places around to invite hotel chains that have a lot of tourists, top restaurants and so on, trying to force them to force the growers to actually produce some cage-free. What I know best, and I did try when I was preparing this to find better data on Canada, but I could not get very specific, so I thought, okay, Tommy, stick to what you know, and then do a comparison to Canada afterwards. This is statistical figures from Denmark, and I know most people is not cheating too much on that. And we are relatively well schooled. There's not a lot of backhanders in Denmark, and people are not cheating. They're trying to be honest. Enriched Cages, they're producing about 337 eggs per year. So in a physical year, Enriched Cages get 347. Floor, barn egg, free run, they're getting about 340. And when we get to, and that's including the free range. And when we get to the organic, we're down a little bit lower. So I guess one of your questions would also be, why in the world should we accept to throw 7 eggs away just to go to Aviary? Would that be fair to say that's some of what's in your mind? Can I ask, how many in here have Aviary production already? So there's a couple here and there, not a lot. So is most of the rest Enriched Cage? I guess, yeah, okay. Goody. If we take just to look at those figures and say, if we look at the breeding companies, they are talking, yes, the 330, the 320. That's what the breed is capable of doing in a year. I've taken the 72 weeks, basically to say, if I'm into production about 20 weeks, 72 weeks is a year's production. So, yes, we're good. Where's Denmark? Denmark is that little green dot here that when I enlarged it looked like this. Some say it looks like a Viking standing there. But anyway, it's actually far further north than Saskatoon. We're up in the middle of the Hudson Bay almost. Luckily, we have the Gulf Stream out here on the other side of England and Ireland, where it's giving us a little bit warmer waters up here. Otherwise, we would be freezing much more than we are. Denmark is about 15 times smaller than Saskatchewan. So the land mass is only a 15th part of Saskatchewan, and we're 6 million people. Just to give you a bit of a feeling for where we are. Egg prices. How are you paid for your eggs? Are you getting the same price for a quality egg and a floor egg? How are you paid? In the US, I know what the answer would be, because they get exactly the same price for all eggs because they're washed as soon as they come to the packing plant. So when it's a floor egg that's damn dirty or have blood stain on it, they get the same price as for a nice clean nest egg. In Denmark, this is in Danish kroner divided by 100. Quality eggs are up here in Enriched. Smalls, whoa, almost half the price. And floor, B-grade eggs, 20% of the price. So if we are not allowed to wash eggs, so any egg that is B-grade, that's being, they get a little bit wrinkled from the IV, maybe if our vaccine have been a bit too strong and so on. That's a B-grade egg. It can only be used for egg powder. A floor egg, only egg powder. We're getting paid peanuts for those eggs. So better manage your system so you don't have floor eggs. On floor, the price is up a little bit, going up from 70 to 80 øre. In free range, they go up a little bit further, and then in organic, the price is up much higher. But B-grade is exactly the same price all the way because they can be used for powder, that's it. And it's just a byproduct, more or less. I can also find statistic figures on egg per kilo, so egg price, and the feed cost. And you see here over 5 years, there is a bonus on floor production eggs, so barn egg, free run. There is a bonus. This is the price, not in the shop, but out of your premises. The feed price last year was pretty much identical for cage and non-cage. There have been years where the free run was much cheaper than the cage feed. One of the reasons being you have to put more what we call fibers and so on into the feed for the cage eggs than you need to in the free run. So if you look at the value of the extra, yeah, but the pay difference in Denmark is about 11 to 12%. They're getting paid 11 to 12% more than from an enriched case. Should we turn on the ventilation in here again, Henrik? Because I think the CO2 level is getting slowly up, and I'm scared people in the back will fall asleep. The feed, yeah, obviously, when it's the same price, there's not really much different. But the 340 to 347, the 7 egg, that's only 2%. Okay, I'm just using this as an indication. There is money to be made. Obviously, if somebody wants to buy the free run eggs. To relate it into here, I went shopping yesterday. No, I didn't buy anything, but I went into the shops. The first one I went into was No Frills. And here a picture from, yeah, I've laid the egg up here so you can see the label. But from 540 to 705 for a dozen of egg. Okay, somewhere there is a bonus to be paid for free run. If I go over to Safeways, they have eggs in a huge span. So basically almost a doubling of the price depending on what you buy. If you don't want to tell it loud, then think about how is the packers paying you guys? Are you getting a bonus as you should, or are they taking too much of it? I don't want to fight a war or start a war, but yes. When suddenly there's a discount on here, I can speculate that sometimes it's probably because they are staying on the shelf a little bit longer every now and then. When Henrik and I was out shopping, an older couple came and they looked around while we were trying to take the pictures, and clear enough, they grabbed the cheapest 18 eggs they could find in the shelf. And we addressed them politely, and then basically said, yeah, they loved the free range, but it was more affordable to take these. So there is, of course, a balance. But I believe Canadians are getting more and more rich, so get them to pay to buy eggs. Why produce in Aviary systems? I'm coming to the end of my introduction on why. Basically, there is money in it, I believe, and people around the world is doing it, so don't stay behind. Provoking again. If you haven't noticed, I like to say things black and white. I hope you will take it so you think about it rather than get offended. Just because you have a quota system, don't stay in the dark ages. Move with what a financial free market would actually do to you. Sorry, I have a black point in your book now, I can hear that. This one up here, that is difficult to see. That is different countries around the world. And the blue is the barn and the free range, and then over in the cage here. And yes, of course, India, Mexico, China, Japan, there's extremely small amount of non-cage. Where we go into New Zealand, France, UK, Italy. US, Yet we saw before the 30%, they're now at 40. So things are moving. Oh. I think it's hot in here. And you're still okay with the voice in the back? Okay. What does it take to make a quality pullet? I'll try to go through and talk a little bit about that. The whole process from they come in as a day-old bird, and also how the right equipment so hopefully support that that pullet in being ready for a aviary system when she have to go into lay. Limited resources all over the world. I guess you have donkeys enough here that oil prices are not too high. Like in Denmark, oil prices have just went up dramatically because somebody decided to throw missiles around where all the ships are normally coming up to Europe from Asia and so on. So yeah, feed is a scarce resource. Water, quality water is a very scarce resource. I've been in several farms in the US where I see bad shell quality. One of the first things I do is look at the dropping. If I also see a little bit watery dropping, then I look at salt contents in the water. Salt contents in the water. What does that do? I'm not a nutritionist, but if salt contents is too high, the female cannot take the calcium out of the feed. Then she have to take it from that bone inside called what? Have a strange name with M.
Veterinary.
Thank you. So we have a veterinarian in the room.
No.
No, damn. I thought it was a good guess. Nutritionist?
Professor, poultry professor.
Okay, good. So with a little bit excess salt contents in the water or the feed, actually it limits her capability of transferring the calcium and thereby making a decent shell. And you don't think, like when you're in the middle of Pennsylvania, why should there be salt in the water? But there is sometimes. Quality manpower, qualified manpower. Get workers that actually know what they're doing in relation to your chickens. Is there schools here where you can go to and teach a new farm manager how to train, how to work with chickens? Or is it just passed down from you to them? Now I'm looking around the room. Bugger, it's like the rest of the industry. There's a few exemptions of young people in here. The rest of us is half-old buggers like myself. It's bad for this industry. Okay. To make a good productivity in your lay barns, we need a quality pullet. We need good housing that supports what the chicken would like, the hen would like to do in nature. We need good feed and water quality. We need good health and biosecurity. We need good environment. Environment, again, because it's a combination of light and climate. Noise. A lot of things is what we call environment, right? And it takes good management. If you don't walk your chicken barn very often when they go in to lay and take away the floor eggs, you're going to have a shitload of floor eggs and they'll never stop laying down there because they're teaching each other. Here's a nest, let's go and lay an egg. So working hard, the right times is also important. Knowing how to maybe switch off the feeder in the top of the system to force them away from the top of the system. There's a lot of tools in an aviary system that you need to know so that you can get them to do the right thing. A little bit like if one of these are missing, if one of these are lacking attention, you're not getting a good productivity. So here, symbolized with the bucket where the lowest Peter would, that's where the water will run out. So if you don't have the right equipment, the right climate, the right management, that's your limiting factor. You don't get high productivity. Good. We looked at this one with the distribution before. I just want to remind us again where the costs are. I'm sometimes saying, don't save on energy if it makes the environment worse for your bird. So like, yes, Grant would like to sell your energy efficient fan. That's a clever way to save money on an energy. But don't switch off the fan and have the birds too hot, because then you're probably harming your production more than you're saving. Enriched Genetics. I had 5 guys from Enriched Genetics Europe visiting me last week, and they almost volunteered to come with me for the gymnastic. 4 of them was actually on the trampoline, so I was impressed. They're also younger than me. No, Enriched Genetics have worked a lot on extending the life of the lay parrot. Why? Because our pullet is a huge part of our cost. So if we can have this bird lay egg for 120 weeks instead of 105 weeks, that's a huge reduction in cost overall. Don't start to look at all the details here. You can find it from Hendricks, but what I point out here to myself is kind of the 5 first weeks is extremely important. So where some of you decide, rearing houses, I don't want to invest in that. I'll take that old shitty barn and use it for rearing and build a new lay house. Okay, so where you should make the quality pullet go into your rearing house, you don't want to spend money. Not a good decision. You need quality rearing equipment and climate and so on, so you can create a quality pullet. Otherwise, you don't get production in the later part of the bird's life. That's what I take from this table. The chicken in focus, here with the magnifying glass. And I'm basically using the magnifying glass to try and say, forget about the books. Understand your chickens. Yeah. Skov say that you should start a broiler with 34 degrees and 50% humidity. Aviary then say you can start it with 32 degree and 70% or 29 degree and 70% humidity. I don't give a shit. I look at my birds. What are they telling me? Trying to understand the signal they're sending you with their body behavior. Huddling birds, laying close together. They're symbolizing I'm cold. I want to make ready for mom to come and sit on me to warm me up. Okay. Birds panting. The only place a bird can sweat is through the lungs, right? It's telling me I'm too hot. Activity. So learn to understand what body signals your chickens are sending you. Don't just go into your barn and now I need to pick up 4 eggs and I need to find dead birds. Stop and actually pay attention to what the birds are doing. What is their natural behavior? What are they trying to tell you? By the way, I forgot something before. I had promised myself that everybody that asked questions were getting candies. You were so polite to answer me also, so did I forget anybody? We need the right temperature. A bird cannot control its own body temperature for the first 4 to 5 days. So it's like a lizard. I lay down, do nothing, and trying to just survive on my yolk sac if it's too cold. Preheat the houses, have the right floor temperature, look at your birds. The first 2 hours they're in the barn, it doesn't matter. They're just, where's my mom, where's my mom? You cannot read them at all the first couple of hours. When they then start to quiet down, that's when you have to observe, not disturb. I know people that say, yeah, but I force my workers to walk around every 1 hour to wake up the birds. Okay, So you have a shitty climate and you wake up the birds with your workers, trying to get them to eat and drink. Maybe you should adjust the temperature or whatever is wrong. Airspeed is a part of feeling temperature. If it's drafty, I feel colder. If I'm too hot, draft is a pleasant breeze. So that's why we can't use the tables in the different manuals, depending on the airspeed and so on. Humidity, on the other hand, is not a part of the bird's feeling temperature. So those tables you have in the different books saying, if you start with 70% humidity, you can brood at 29 degrees. If you only have 50% humidity, you should start at 33. Take that page and rip it out of the book and throw it away. A bird feels the temperature the same between 40 and 75%. When we come in over the 80%, then she starts to not lose heat in the lungs the same way, because the heat transfer is less with this high humidity. Then it's changing a little bit. When we're in Saudi Arabia with 10% humidity, it's destroying things in the respiratory system, and it's also starting to make them feel different. But 40 to 75% humidity do nothing. Air quality, litter. Now, so the humidity and litter conditions go so much hand in hand. In your floor production houses, how much litter do you put in? Anybody put in less than 2 inches? You put in less? Because you listened to me Monday or what? No, sorry, Luke. I'll make it up. I'll find you a beer later on. Sorry, no.
The layer barn I go less pull it, or I go more. I probably got it backwards.
Yeah. No. The reason I want to go low on litter is up here in the air, I have 34 degrees, for instance, and 50% humidity. My floor is touching the ground, and a couple of meters into the ground, the temperature is always below 8 degrees. That's why we get nice cool water up from the underground, right? So that concrete will go cold. If that concrete is below 24 degrees, water will condensate on the concrete. Because this humidity up here, that is 50, relative humidity, when that gets cooled down to 24, it condensates, it creates water on my floor. By having a lower amount of litter, I make sure to transfer enough heat into the concrete to avoid condensation. Do not put in too much litter. You're making life difficult for yourself. Yes, maybe you need to top it up a few times during the flock. That's also a great stimulation for the birds. These birds that are bored all afternoon, have nothing to do, when they get a little bit new litter, they're suddenly waking up and start to play. I just want to see how many slides I were into to try and see if I could keep up my time. Or air quality and litter condition go hand in hand. Minimum ventilation. There's a lot of tables on minimum ventilation again, but I would say look at carbon dioxide, look at ammonia, maybe dust level, if things are very good, sometimes become an issue. In your floor production houses, are you removing litter on a regular basis? Do you have a scraper system, or you take out litter on a regular basis? We always do, to keep the litter amount down, so that number one, it's not so attractive to lay floor eggs, but number two, you don't have a lot of ammonia production from your litter. Uniformity, my favorite word. In Thai, it's called samumsamur. I think it's a funny word, but Thai is also a funny language. I love uniformity. Everything we do in chicken production is about uniformity. I'm not worried at all you fall asleep, even though the climate in here is getting pretty shitty. You stay awake because you're right under the lamp. You're scared that I'll come and hit you when you close your eyes. Those guys down there in the back, they're sitting in the dark, like John Wayne coming into the bar. I can see all my enemies, right? And you're sitting in the dark, so you're in the bushes. No, try to convert that into a chicken thinking. Why do a chicken have a crop? Why do a chicken have a crop? We don't have a crop. We have a stomach. But a chicken have a crop because it's a jungle fowl. It's living in the jungle. And it knows when it gets out into the sunshine, I'm in danger. The eagle can see me. The fox can see me. I need to pick up feed in a hurry and get back into safety. And then I can start to digest my food. So light is telling the birds that when you're in a bright spot, you're in trouble. When you're in the dark area, you're more safe. So uniform light distribution is so important in our chicken houses also. And we can use the light to decide where we want them to be, where we want them to sit. Stability. Yeah, my heating system is a little bit bad. So I'm probably having the temperature 3 degrees too cold at night time. But then again, I've adjusted my ventilation so they're 3 degrees too hot in the daytime. So that's on average good enough. No, it's not. It's shit all the time. If you have a cooling system in the summertime when it's very hot, that is turning on way too much cooling and then it's turning off, then you have these cold pulses coming on the birds and you have the birds start sneezing. A bird cannot snuff, cough, so they drown in their own slime, right? Stability, uniformity, safety. If a bird is sitting on the floor sleeping, she's producing more stress hormone than if she's sitting in what she considers a safe place. Sitting up high, she's more relaxed. That's why I've had safety on this one. And then the light that I just described before. Light distribution can also affect our litter big time. Good. Back to the day-old chicken. We are about one full basket of chickens now. And you were in the room when I did it before, so I'll pick on you again. As the two small, skinny females. And I'll now for a minute be a female as well. Don't go check. When we get thrown off the basket as a day-old chicken, we come with a uniform from the hatchery that is probably 5 CV, in and about that. Very uniform. We come from the same age group of parents' dog, and so on and so on and so on. When we're thrown off that basket in a house that is slightly too cold, or the floor was not preheated long enough, it's a little bit cold. It's not very cold. So fat Tommaline will go and eat and drink. And Tommaline grows 30% the first 24 hours. I don't know the names of you two, but you lay there huddling, consuming your yolk sac, and because I'm abusing you, you're getting Cantus. Hey, don't worry. Mom will come and heat us up. She'll come and sit on us so we can go and eat together with Tommaline. But no, Mom, she's still over in the breeder house. So tomorrow you had lost 10% of your body weight consuming the yolk sac. We have now in 24 hours destroyed the uniformity. The first week, chickens are growing more than 100%. The orange line here. So uniformity is something we often destroy in our rearing houses because we do things bad. We're thinking, don't worry, we have 18 weeks to catch up. No, you don't. You do it right every single minute from the start, or you're destroying your chickens. To have a good rearing system, that both support the birds in what it would like to do, but also make it easy for you to work in. That's to me a little bit the DNA of Landmeko. So, Danish people, we stopped rowing a long time ago. We did row a little bit when we were Vikings, but that's a few generations before me. So we're lazy people. We like to do things simple. That's one thing, trying to build in to the system that is easy to operate, that is easy to use, it's easy to wash. But the other thing that is, in my opinion, the DNA of Landmeko is supporting what the bird would like to do in nature. We have a rearing system here that looks quite complicated, but let's try to look at it bit for bit. Over here is packed together. All the water and the feed is raised up, and the bottom and the top is packed together. We can take this part out here and put down here, and now it's a barrier when we're doing vaccination. By the way, it's also packed together easily when we have to vaccinate the birds. During brooding, we put paper on the floor of this area, and we have a confined area where all the birds is the first 6, 7, 8, 10 days. Then we can start to open it up to allow them access to the floor, and later on we can extend the area of the aviary. This to teach them how to behave when they go into the aviary system where they have to lay the eggs. So, fill up with paper, and then, here a picture, sorry for the quality, from our showroom with paper laid out, and you have water and feed directly on there, and this is only the half of the system we see here. In a barn it could look like this. So all the birds are placed here, like a couple of foot off the ground. This one, these metal frames are just leaning on here. Personally, I actually like the one where we hang them in a chain, because it's a little bit more open. I can see the birds a little bit better, but that's a small thing. So we start the birds up there. Yes, they're stocked relatively heavily, but they have access to water and feed. They're off the ground, they're on paper. They have a chance to get a good start. Perches sitting over the drinker line and the feeder line. That's my indicator for when I can start to open up my aviary system. Because when they can start to jump up on top of that, that is considerably higher than themselves, then they're indicating to me, okay, we are ready to start jumping. Tommy, please give us room so that we can use that, because we have to do that for the rest of our life. So when they start to indicate by sitting up on the perch, then we open up every second of these fronts. So that become a ramp they can crawl up on. We typically also take this ramp actually and make it here, because there is a jump down here, and there is birds that cannot do that until they're after 20 days. So, but already from about 10 days, we're starting to teach them. You can get down on the floor, do all your natural behavior, go back up, eat and drink, and sit in a safe place to sleep. Here, at 5 weeks, see how far they're already sitting up on top of the system. We're 2.50 meters up into the room here. They are jumping up easily at that age. Teaching them that is so good for coming into the labor. You know anything special on this picture? I have a prize to the one that finds it. Huh? Lights? Not the one thing I was thinking about, but you're right, it is quite shiny there in the middle.
The bird with the comb, they're in the center.
The sixing arrow.
Yeah.
Right, Luke?
I don't need to get.
You're scared of getting to look like me? Or? Later on, yeah, as mentioned, we can extend the floor area because we count this as floor area to get more birds in the barn. We can also, in some houses, we actually put up A-frames for extra perch place. So, yes, there is a number of inches we need for perch place per bird, and so on and so on. Light, which I promised you I didn't want to talk about, but I'll go back again to this bird and how it's programmed up here. A chicken would never start laying egg in the middle of the winter, right? Because instincts are telling it there's no food in nature. That's the reason that chickens need a long period of time with very few hours of sunlight. It's winter, it's winter, it's winter, it's winter. Then we start to increase the day length to say, spring is coming, spring is coming. Now you should start to think about reproduce because there will be plenty of food in nature for your offspring. Light is so important in what we're doing with those birds. Goody. Any questions? I'm talking too fast. I'm way ahead of time. With the carbon dioxide level in here, I feel that we should have a stretched leg, despite the coffee might not be ready. Can you have a quick look? Am I the only one that feels there's a little bit heavy air in here? I see a couple of people that are struggling too, I think. Could we just do a walk out of the room, stretch your leg, go to the toilets, and we start again in 10 minutes?
Before that, I will get strung up if I don't mention it. There's a piece of paper in front of you. If you could fill that out, we'll come along after the fact. You don't have to do anything with it. Just fill it out, and then it'll be put in for a draw that'll actually happen at the, I think Renee said at the end of the month. So if you put that in there, put your information in there, then we'll have that. We can put that in that draw. So.
By the way, I also forgot to ask, is there any questions that we should take before the break? Or comments? I might be stubborn, but I'm still welcoming comments also if there's anything.
Sorry, so in Europe,
Yeah.
enriched, is it regulation that enriched is,
Cage production in EU have not been allowed since 2012.
conventional?
Conventional cages have been banned since 2012, correct?
Okay.
And we were to stop Enriched in 2027. With the world situation right now, I'm guessing that might be extended.
So enriched is, sorry, can you say that again? Enriched is supposed to be gone by 2027?
Correct. So only free run or free range from 2027. That is the proposal right now. I don't think it's going to happen. There's two things going on in Europe in relation to chickens. There's ECC, European Chicken Commitment. That's focusing on the broilers, trying to say maximum 30 kilo per square meter. No production below 45 days of length, so we only want slow grow birds and so on and so on. I think those two things are getting relaxed right now. One, consumption of chicken meat and eggs go up and go up. There's a shortage, and then the whole political situation in the world is probably also a little bit affecting the push for going to absolutely no cage. Thanks for the question. But here, sorry, yeah.
Is there any convention system in Europe right now? Is there any convention system left in Europe?
Not if we are not counting the Russian area. So if you take the EU countries, there's no conventional cage left. Now I say cage again. As a warm up to my next one, Landmeco have never produced cage. Therefore, our aviary system is very different to the others. Because to be a little bit rude, most of the other guys, they've taken their cage and take the front off, and then they call it the aviary. Don't fight me too much. Where are you?
So how does this company stack up against Vancomatic? Vancomatic is not a cage manufacturer either.
No.
In far as size.
Oh, we're small. That's also why nobody cared about us a few years ago. But lately we've grown so much that last year 2 of our competitors sent us a note, you can buy no more equipment from us. Like we were buying corners and things like that from some of the other companies, and we get a notification saying you can no longer buy it. Because we grow by 4 times. So we're suddenly starting to be a player in the market. We're buying typical looping in the end of the houses for transporting the eggs. Our corners is from one of our colleagues in the industry that we're still getting. So there are things we're still buying from our colleagues in the industry.
So one of your slides there, Tommy, you said that there's basically a 2% difference in egg production when you're moving from like a
That's what Denmark is saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we took that example, then basically what you're saying is, as long as there's at least a 2% premium that you would be getting for those aviary eggs, that would justify. Is that
Not completely true, because the bird is consuming a little bit more feed because of her extra activity. So it's a bit more than the 2%. But you're right in the thinking. The margin between what we're getting extra in the cage production is not enough to cover what we're typically getting extra for the eggs in a free run. At least in Denmark. I don't know what you're getting paid. And nobody had the guts to say it in this room because you might be paid different than your neighbor. So fair enough. Goody. More questions or comments? Can I get you out for 2? What? Decided actually to come back, make me happy. Thanks. It's like this was Christmas already in March. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the rearing period now. I hope you got some inspiration. So what I'm trying to go through now is basically what are we having for different tools in the laying period. So trying to come with example of a couple of things that we could maybe struggle with in the production period. And I guarantee you floor eggs will be one thing we talk about, but system eggs is also one thing we'll talk about. Free run egg, is that mainly brown birds here? Or mix? Mix. Yeah.
Primarily white.
Primarily white. You lucky guys. Excuse me for start talking politics again, or whatever I do now. South of the border, I think a lot of people still believe a brown egg is more healthy than a white egg. And a brown egg, by definition, is put out in a cage. So every single bird, more or less, they're doing in aviary system is brown. And I'm not a racist. I lived in Asia for 12 years, come a lot in Africa, come a lot in Middle East. Brown birds are stupid, lazy, social. They are just a pain in the ass to manage. Anyway, are you guys okay with social media? We have an advertising company and a marketing department that want us to put a lot of things on social media. So I hope you're okay with me doing a selfie together with all you guys. Oh shit, maybe I should turn the camera around. Sorry. Good. As I said, we've never done cage. I'll not put up slides here where I talk badly about our competitors, but I might say a few words where you think I'm hunting them a bit. A gentleman came to me in the break and say, Tommy, I'm managing some of these crews that are doing all the dirty work in the barns, like for instance moving birds. Have you anywhere in the world seen some nice system, a nice way of getting birds out of that nest, or out of that aviary system where I have to crawl over the feed line to get in there, and the birds are running around in there and I can't get them out when I have to transfer them? That's what I call a cage without a front. You saw our rearing system, how open it is. You can pack it together and you don't have any birds that can hide anywhere. So in rearing, the rearing system is also not a fraction of the price, but it's relatively price competitive because it's very simple. It's also very easy to pack away when you're washing and so on. So supporting the birds and making life easy for you guys. I visited a farm in Australia. Number one, we have a dealer down there that's selling a competitor product and selling our product. We went out to a farm where both systems was at. The guy from from our dealer, he told me on the way out, by the way, Tommy, I spent 30% less hours installing yours than the competitor. That's the system we're going to talk about right now. Number two, the customer then a couple of hours later told me, and my washing crew is using less than half time. So two things, Danes are lazy. We try to do things smart. Here, a look in the aviary system. It's an organic production. That's the reason you have solid partitions here. In Denmark, organic production, maximum 3,000 birds per group. So there's 15,000 in this half of the barn, divided in 5 rooms. And the other side, there's another 15,000 divided in 5 rooms. I stand here reaching in and easily accessing the nest. I can reach in here to the drinker nibble in the middle. Our system is only 1.40 meters deep. So I can, without crawling, getting in and accessing my drinker nibbles and so on. Some of the other equipments that have tried to build up like a pyramid, 1.50 meters on top, 2.5, 3.5. You don't have a chance to get in there. And that's what the guy was talking about. How do I get my workers in there picking out the birds when we have to transfer them? Easy solution, sorry. In US, they'll say, we'll just hire the Mexicans.
We just use hockey sticks.
Hockey sticks?
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So, now, yeah. Huh?
You get some candy, right?
Yes, sorry. Yeah. Hey. Thanks for a reminder. You should have one too. You see, it's like a stair system. So it's very open. Okay, now it's a little bit bad picture because I take all the space in the middle there. But I can actually, when I walk in, see a lot of birds. So as soon as I open up the door, I can see a lot of birds because I'm not in between two walls of these aviary systems where there's a cage that's just taken off the front. Number two, this platform here in front of the nest, that's also a possibility to walk up and inspect the top. Pretty much all of the others, I don't really want to do it. They're also 2.50 meters tall. If they lay a dead bird up there on the top, if I want to inspect it up there, I have to crawl up the front and look. And I can only look 3-4 meters away, and then I have to do it again, meaning that you don't do it. And then I come in and visit your barn. There's a dead bird here somewhere. And then I start crawling up and I find a skeleton that are falling in between the mess, because you never get up there and inspect your birds. Root, straight, one of the worst things, I think. At the top, we also have feeding systems to support all the birds with enough feeding and perching space. And obviously, you have to get up there and inspect. And for that, we have the ladder. Now, the perches are missing here. So the perches that we normally have here will also act as a rail for you when you're going to inspect your birds. So getting up here at least once a day, you can walk all the way through the system and actually inspect the top. Is the feeder, is everything okay? Should I have a dead bird up? One of the routines I have typically talked about when I was teaching people in the US lately is things we do every second day or every third day, we tend to forget. Things we do every day become a routine. In the aviary system, you have to run the manure belt to get the manure out of the house. Every second day is what we recommend. And a lot of people do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then they are a little bit more careful on the Monday morning because there's a lot of manure. Anyway, I recommend to do every single day, but only half of the belts. Then it becomes a routine that you never forget. You wake up in the morning, you come to your farm, depending on how your light is coming on, when you have egg production and so on. When you want to run the manure scraper or the manure belt, do half of them. So you walk down the back. Now you've already inspected one side of the house. There's a couple of floor eggs you picked up, and you're down the back. You turn on the cross manure belt. You turn on half of the manure belts, and when you see everything is running stable, then you go in and then you do your morning walk on the top. That might take you 20 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on the barn size. And then the manure belts is pretty much done with unloading the manure. You switch them off, and now you have one time every day been on top inspecting no dead birds, no skeletons, there's feeder in the feeder system and so on. Routine. Now I'm using a drawing that is from layer signals. But to me it's important that we understand that picture and that we are supporting in everything we do in the house. The instinct of a chicken is not according to me, according to a lot of other clever people. They want to sit up in the tree to sleep. That's how they are from nature. They feel safer, less predators can reach them. The first thing they do when they wake up, except for polishing their feathers and pulling the dead ones out and stuff, is to go and eat and drink. Get a morning snack. Hey, I'm old and fat, and I'm also always starting with, I don't have to lay egg. But for that female that are now, I have to secure my offspring. That's the most important thing in my life, is those eggs. That when I have enough collected, I'll sit on them and hatch them. So that's her main focus there. White birds will do it in 3-4 hours. All the eggs are laid. Again, the brown busters, they're laying all day long. But that's the most important thing for her. In that time, we should of course not disturb her. If I'm running the feeding system when she's laying in there, should I eat or should I lay my egg? Or bugger, I'll lay my egg out on the system and then I'll get something to eat. Then the rest of the day, they have to do all the natural things from nature. Dust bathing, laying in the sun. Sorry, we've taken away the male, so you don't get to do that funny part. And then at evening time, they want to get back up in the tree to sleep. That's the daily routine we should support. Okay. Here we take an example from a SCO controller where we have a list of all the programming things in relation to the system. So we have the lights here, we have the feeding, the animate. We're not running the feeder for a full loop, we're just running the chain for 20 seconds to wake them up and say, go and get a snack. So that is like having an extra, please go eat, go eat, go eat. And then we have the pop holes if it's free range. And the feed time here is just some technical thing, so don't worry about that. They sit there and sleep. They get their morning feed. And then we have a relatively long period here, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, where we have no feeding. So we're giving them 4 hours to concentrate on lay the egg. Then the rest of the day, they're eating to get enough nutrients to produce a new egg, and they take care of themselves. Light is so important. All the yellow here, except these, because that's the drinker nibbles. All the other yellow spots here, that's lights. So we have a lot of lights in the house, so that we have light on the floor level, making sure that it's not an attractive place to lay egg. We have light on the above the manure belt. We have light up in the ceiling, and not just in the corridors, but in corridors and over, so that we can get a very uniform light and make sure we have enough light up here that it's not an attractive place to lay egg. As I said, the last place the sun disappeared from the ground is up in the top of the tree, right? So in nature, we switch off the light from below, and the last place we switch it off is in the top. You all know this, right? I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. I'm just reminding you, hopefully. So that she go up there and sit and ready to sleep. She don't look sexual mature to me. She's been transferred a bit early. Anyway, we'll get back to that. So, with that whole thing, because we wanted to attract her up, you also see the light here, at least I'm indicating with this little line, we're switching it off from below, underneath the system, in the system, on top, in the roof, attracting the bird up. We switch everything on at the same time, because as soon as some light come on, they'll start big activity anyway. So it doesn't really, you're ramping up maybe on 15 or 20 minutes, but that's it. And then when we have switched off the last light, hopefully they're all sitting up there. A bunch of ladies that I helped put into this barn the evening before the video. We probably carried up, when the lights were going off that evening, we probably lifted up about 3,000 birds. So every night in the beginning, when the birds are transferred, you walk the floor and lift up the birds that sit on the floor. Get them into the behavior of, I want to sleep up there. Blue headlamp, lift them up. Next evening, same. And after a couple of weeks, hopefully you're down to a few birds.
So if they grew up in a proper rearing, like trained.
You got it. Exactly. What we'll see now is, you don't really hear it, but I took this video when the feeding system went on, and look at the behavior of these birds. These were reared in a floor production house. That's probably why we had to pick up 3,000 birds the first evening, because they were used to sleep everywhere. They have been slap trained a little bit, but they have always, their whole life, been fed on the floor. The feeding system have been on the floor. So these girls, where's the feeding? What's going on here? That's, I'm sure, giving them a few extra days before they go into production. We're probably losing a few of the birds that take way too long time to find the feed, and they will be very late into production. Because, what do you see here? Same house. Look at the comb of these two ladies. How many fingers do you think there is between the pin bone of this girl versus this girl? 1 versus 2. This girl's pin bone was also very pointy. There was no fat deposit there to tell her body, you can go ahead and produce an egg because you have enough nutrients in your body. You won't. It will take a long time before she go into production. In the same house, happy boy. At least that's what he's thinking here. I'm 18 years old, there's 20,000 girls around me. Holy shit, this is gonna be fun. You don't realize that they want to mate with him every 3 days. So he's probably after a while, when they're pecking at him, come on, you lazy bastard, I also want, because otherwise I'll not get fertile eggs. He'll be worn out relatively quick. Sorry, should not be telling jokes like that. Good. When to give them the floor area? Just going back here. You see the floor area here is closed. We have a handle that very easily open up probably a third of the house. So you just have 6 handles per row to open up the floor area. They have put no lid on here. That's not nice, they should do. But being in the US, a lot of the other guys, they would put up 2 sugar wires here and never open up the floor area because that's just a pain in the ass. Sorry. Floor area is a benefit to the birds, so we should just consider when we want to open it up. And we have 2 stories we kind of recommend. I prefer the first one, and a colleague of mine, Alex, he preferred the second one. But that's, the first one is basically let them have the natural behavior as soon as possible. When you have trained all the birds to go up and sit at night, you have got them off the floor, they have learned that part. Then I like to open up the floor. So after 2 weeks, I give them the floor. Then we have to handle the floor eggs, because there will be floor eggs in the beginning. And that's handled by you walking there the first 3-4 hours every day in the beginning. They are not allowed to see a floor egg because they will go and lay an egg together with that floor egg. Get them off the ground. The benefit that gives me is this relatively high stocking density I'm getting offloaded on the floor. So in the daytime, when they have to lay egg, when they have to eat, when they have to drink, when they have to dust bathe, I'm getting the load in the aviary system down. Less stocking density, more easy to maneuver. I'm not calling you weak, but you are a little bit smaller than some other ladies in the room. So maybe maybe you would be a little bit shy to go up into the nest if you have to get past all these big tomolinas. So what do? You lay the egg somewhere else. It might be in the system, it might be on the floor. But when we get some of the big tomelinas away from the system, you had a chance to slip up and lay the egg. Sorry, I owe you some candy or beer or whatever.
I still have some things.
Okay. Alex, my colleague, he preferred to wait until we are up to 50 to 80% egg production before he say, go ahead, give them the floor. And that's simply just because he's too lazy to walk the floor enough in the first few weeks. That's my claim anyway. Yeah. When we're overstocking, we'll get back to that because it can give system egg and then so can other things. See the floor as a benefit to the ladies. This is a wire to our scraper system. The scraper system underneath is basically to remove the litter. So we have two wires going like this and then the scrapers going like this. Because we don't want it too thick. We just want enough that there's dust baiting and having natural behavior. We don't want it too thick because then the risk of floor eggs is bigger. So get it away. Dr. Karen have gone. But there is plenty of papers made on the benefit it have that the birds can do natural behavior and have the access to dust baiting and so on. Plenty of papers done on the benefit that give to the bird in general. When do we open up the nest? Oh, we have these expellers. This is an open nest, this is a closed nest. So you cannot get in. Okay. Why? I don't want the birds to go in here and sleep before they're ready to start laying egg. So our recommendation is keep it closed until you have the first floor egg. How is the lay curve? They're coming in from the first egg until peak is over a 4-week time period. So when we have the first floor egg, that's when the big mature ladies are ready to lay egg, but some others are coming in 3-4 weeks. That's only when we start to introduce them to a nest. We don't want them to see the nest because they'll just sleep in there. They sleep in there, they shit in there in the morning. No, they should only see the nest when they start to think about, I want to build a safe place for my nest. When are we then closing the nest? In the afternoon. A good thing is to activate the feeder to say, if you finish laying your egg, get out of there and eat. And then we close it. We are also running the motors extremely slow. So it's only moving 1 second at the time. So that they're getting a small push. Go away. Go away. And eventually they're out of there. And we keep it closed until next morning. Maybe opening up 15 minutes before the lights come on. Yeah. Okay. Landmeko is very different. We have a nest with 2 mats. The egg has to fall down. Won't that create a lot of cracked eggs? I'll show you a video later on for those of you that want it. That fall here is much more gentle than a long roll. Because we have built up the nest, so the egg belt is in the nesting area. For the same width of a nest, we have 25% more nest area per running meter of the building. So, Luke is gone. He had another meeting.
Must have scared him away.
Yeah, maybe. Or he's so clever he can't handle more. Anyway, we were out at his barn the other day and we talked about it. Because there you have about a 50 centimeter fall. So that roll here actually get more powerful. So falling down here is not a problem. If the egg has to roll 50 centimeters and hit a different egg, that impact is twice as hard as falling down. I have a couple of videos on. Now, let's do it now. Let's do it now, otherwise I forget it. This is sun down over Edinburgh, taken out on an airplane sometime when I went up, visited Aviary in Scotland. Come on. What am I doing? I talk about eggs and nest. Electronic egg. So this little thing here is an electronic egg. Electronic egg, it's damn expensive. 10,000 euro for that one egg. It have a small Wi-Fi built in, it makes its own home page, and it's sending signal all the time out here. How much shock am I getting? It's also having 3 colors of light, green, white, and red. So you can say, show me physically what impact are you getting. So if you put it in your nest and following it all your transport system, you can see where eggs are getting shocked. Good. I place it here in the back. This is just in our showroom, so not fancy chickens and so on, but monitoring the fall. It stayed green, it stayed below 75 to 100. So a relatively gentle fall here. Okay, that was video 1 of that fall. I made one more, quite similar. Okay. I'm then trying to simulate a competitor nest. I put a couple of eggs down the end where it rolls onto the belt. Eggs are already laying on the egg belt, and now this egg is laid. Actually, I do 55 centimeters here. I should have done only 50, so I have to make some new videos. Poof! Did you see the red color? I already got a visual. This roll was more intense. And when I go and look at the peak here, where I was down below 75, I'm now up at 200. I don't know if I have the angle correct here. I chose a 9-degree angle, the same as ours, and it might be that I should have done 7 only. So don't take these figures for more than indication, please. Oh, did I close the presentation? I wonder if I can remember where I came to. Yeah. Now you get a chance to see how many slides there is. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, come on, there. Oops. They like being together when they're laying eggs. They don't mind. And you see, a lot is laying up on the top, because that's another thing people say, yeah, but do birds really go up and lay up there? Yeah, they do. So they use the hole. A nest is one of the most expensive things in your barn. A nest is often a limiting factor when we're dimensioning a barn. So how many birds can we squeeze in? We can make the barn a meter wider, have a little bit extra birds for the same investment. Egg on top of the system. You don't really want to walk around up there and picking up eggs. So here, these clever brown birds in a house where they have not really opened up the floor space yet. And you see the amount of floor or system eggs up here. This is on top. We have what we call an egg saver. So it's basically a plate, making sure they can't shit on the egg and they can't peck on it. And it's in the front, formed as a perch. So it's also counting as perch area. You can put an egg belt, the small one down here, to transport them out automatically. But preferably we don't want them up there. over here is down below where we put additional light, and you see we hardly have any floor eggs. Okay. When I see that, what can I do to help the situation? Okay. I can actually go and say, the last feeding, please don't put feed in the top. The first feeding, please don't put feed in the top. That means when that girl up there wake up, she have to get down from the top to find feed and water. And when she is down there, if she want to go back up, she have to pass the nest. So we are trying to force them down and getting rid of the system eggs. 9 out of 10 of the barns that have been built in 25 in the US have been built with people that have never managed an egg layer before. So a lot of those people have done very bad things in relation to supporting the bird's natural behavior. White versus brown, I don't think you're in doubt on that. If we have free range in Denmark, we would always have what we call a winter garden. A safe area where the bird can get out without being exposed to predators. It's also an area where in AI season, you just close it here and they can still get out in the winter garden, but there's no risk of birds coming in with avian flu. This is young ladies. It's organic. You see the curtain down there, and actually also there's fencing out on the land. Litter in here. This time there was straw out here. Normally they put bark fleece as the transition area, and then you have a good forest basically on the other side that they can walk into. The 4 square meter per bird in organic is a waste of space because they never go to the other end, but that's a different story. These are layer birds. Again, they do go out there and do their natural behavior. So open up the pop holes after they're finished laying the eggs, let them have that natural behavior. That's also very beneficial to brown birds, because things like piling, they do partly because of boredom. Oh, what should I do? I've eaten enough. Let's go and sit on top of each other, and then the small ones in the bottom can die. Read signals from your birds. Use material to give you indications. Put a mineral stone in there. Yeah, they'll take a little bit of it. But if you come in there and see 20 birds standing around the mineral stone, you should probably call the feed mill and say, what have you done? Put alfalfa in there. If they suddenly go wildly after the alfalfa, maybe there's not enough fiber in your food. Maybe there's other things. So use these things to get indication of what's going on. This is a bag of seashells. So just a bag of seashells and cut 3 holes in it and just leave it there on the floor. If they need extra calcium, they will tear that bag apart. And again, you have a signal. Oh, they're in calcium deficiency right now. They go for it. Look at the litter. This is a barn in the US. I think it was Vital. And they're actually demanding toys hanging every so often in their barns. Look at the droppings. Nice round dropping with a little bit of white surface. That's actually the urine, right? That's what we want. We don't want something that are smashed out all over the place. Go and look in your manure storage. If it's piling up nicely, it's relatively dry. Hey, over here is floating out the door. Way too much water in there. Free range. Here we sit, here put up very small sails to try and make protection. He had no trees planted yet. But he was using stone here, the first area. Have a couple of good things. There's absolutely no place for rats and mouse to hide. It's not an attractive place to go. So the concrete and the stone is actually giving us a little bit better chance of keeping the rodents away from running into our house. In Denmark, every now and then, the government put up live streaming from chicken houses. In this case, 4 cameras from a free-range production. So you have one out on the fields, you have in the winter garden inside, and the packing. People can log on 24/7 and see what's going on. Build consumer trust, giving them the indication, hey, we're behaving decently, we're good to our animals, we're not afraid of showing you what's going on. We like to say that we like to advise you, so not just sell your equipment, help installing it and run away. No, we would like you to get a good productivity out of it, so you buy again. Lazy man sitting in a chair.
Tommy here from Landmeco. Today I'll talk a little bit about why you should listen to a few guys up from a small country called Denmark in the northern part of Europe. We're only 6 million people, so why listen to advice from guys that hardly have any chickens if we see it in scale? A good few of us have been traveling all over the world and seen chickens in a lot of different systems. You can say it's the same genetics that are used in most of the world. The housing are different, the equipment are different, the management is different. So why is it that you should consider us? Yeah, for one, everything is expensive in Denmark. Land is expensive, building houses is expensive. We actually have a pretty nasty climate. It's wet, windy and cold most of the year. So when we are in these conditions, everything is expensive. We have to be quite efficient. To be quite efficient, it demands good equipment, good environment and good management. That's what I think we have learned here in our home area, but also by looking out in the world. So please have a talk to us about your chicken production. I think we can give you some advice.
If you were to buy an Aviary system today, what's the delivery time from our competitors? You need to give us a down payment now if you want it in 9 months' time or something like that. We'll get it out the door in 12 weeks. We've invested in our production. We have now 3 punching machines and a lot of bending robots standing in production. So we have kept up despite the big growth. Yes, last year we doubled our turnover. We can still deliver in 12 weeks. So, good. AI can do a lot of things. A young man in the Mackay family built this AI, and Skål and Meko, and of course in the front position here. So go ahead. Hope you will talk to Grant. Questions?
On a scale, how big are you compared to the competitors?
We're peanuts compared to Big Dustman.
I mean, that's why a 12-week could be a quicker turnaround. But I also noticed on the configuration.
Big Dustman have not 4 times their turnover in the last 3 years. We have grown by a factor 4 in 3 years.
That's on a smaller scale, it's easier to do that. On a larger scale, it's harder to do. But do you require a bigger footprint in your barn with the way your cages are configured?
We can get a bird less per square meter in because we don't have that 3 meter belt up on the top. We have a stacked system, so you can get up there and inspect your bird instead of crawling up and never inspecting your birds up on the top. We cannot get the same number of birds in, no. But we can make sure you can actually manage your bird in a decent way.
Do you have any systems installed in Canada yet?
Not of the combo system, as far as I know. We have of the rearing system. We have BC, we have Ontario.
We have out in BC, yeah, we have some in Ontario as well.
So this is the layer system or?
No, the rearing.
The pull system.
And are there any
But-
layer systems here yet?
We are very close and starting to install.
You might organize a trip going to visit a couple of farms in the US,
Yes.
probably in the Missouri area. So flying into Springfield, go and see a house under construction, maybe having a talk again, and then the day after going into a house with birds. Obviously, there's a limit to how many can go in, but so.
Yeah, that's what the intention is. We were going to do that a while ago, but it just never worked out. So, but if there's any interest in going out and see some of that, by all means, we're more than willing to facilitate that.
Have you considered any kind of virtual tours? So for people, say, that don't want to travel or have some limitations, maybe with time or resources, that they'd be able to ask you questions while you walk around in a barn with a handicap instructor.
100%. By all means, yes.
Parker, you have a task.
I guess so.
That's our handyman.
Sounds good.
He's carrying the nest down here from upstairs, and he's doing the filming. Now he'll do a virtual tour.
And the making of that.
And the making of this, exactly, yeah. So it'll be eventually possible to access it online if you want to roll back and listen to me one more time. I doubt it, but. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to the pullet and the layer equipment, in comparison to the Canadian Code of Practice and measurements, are there any limitations you guys have noticed, or as you're kind of doing your comparisons? It takes one little measurement, like a perch length, or in regards to manure belts on the pullet system, as an example as well. Any concerns there?
Obviously, we have what we call a density calculator. So both for the rearing system and for the production system, we are putting in a number of informations. And yes, we are always asking what is local regulation. How much birds, feeder space, birds per drinker nibble, and then of course the floor space area. There is, for instance, in some countries, the open mesh without a manure belt below cannot be called floor area, because when you can sit down through it, down below is not a safe place. And then we have possibilities also in our system. We have the big belt down below and a smaller belt over the nest, but the front part before they walk into the nest, in a few places we have actually put a solid plate there, so that can also be counted as floor area. So there is a lot of feeder space. Sometimes stocking density in the house require that you don't really need a feeder system on top of the system, then you can save it. So yes, we are custom dimensioning. I hope it answers your question. We better get finished soon. No, I was just saying, there is a rearing barn for that organic producer I've shown a couple of times things from. There is, he have a house where in the front there's a brooder barn. So he had the birds there for the first 5 weeks. And then left and right in the rest of the house, he had them from 5 weeks to 16, 18 weeks, depending on when the transfer.
Oh, good. Every donor.
And those make it, you can make more specialized equipment for exactly what you're supporting in the different parts of the bird's life. So in less building area, you get more birds in.
And what week would you typically move birds with your system, like from the rear to the lay house? Would it be earlier than 19 weeks?
Yeah, it's often 17, 18 weeks. Yes, it is.
So if you do that, I'm just questioning, are you losing 2 weeks of say we normally with the older system, when you move with 19 weeks, then you're right into egg production. Now, if you move with, I'm seeing what I'm thinking, you're moving with 17, where do you get those 2 weeks of production you could have got with the older system?
I would say, I would actually claim opposite. If they are already ready to produce, when you move them, they get a huge shock. They get into a new environment. They were crammed into a small crate during transport. They have not been eating for 24 hours or longer before they start to know the new system. So if you're ready to lay egg, she just got a punishment. No, my girl, you better wait because I will not give you and support you all the feed you need. So I think it's much more gentle to get in well before they're ready to lay the first egg, because then they can overcome the transport shock. But hey, you're absolutely right. It's 2 weeks less where you're actually producing egg in that physical building. Are you guys washing or are you doing dry clean out? Washing. Everybody washing or is any dry clean out?
I'd say there's a combination.
There is a combination, yeah. Yeah. That's so obviously with dry clean out you can probably make a quicker turnaround because you don't need all that time. So.
But definitely not less than 7 days.
You have to have 7 days now.
What, 7 days downtime?
Oh, damn. Someone's gonna give us 2 days now.
As long as the last manure is out of the house, let's get started.
What about birds starting up early in the pullet barn? Some flock earlier than they mature quick. Now you have really planned for moving that back. They're already producing eggs there. Can that create bad habits already in that pullet house?
Probably, because she didn't have a nest to go into, so she's got used to already putting on the floor. I think she'll be more difficult to train, and you'll have to work harder on seeing when she's getting ready, because you can see on the body expression of the birds if they're just laying there or they're actually going into that. They're almost paralyzed for a couple of minutes when they lay the egg. Take her, put her up. Not fun work. Yes. What? No. Okay. Okay. Goody. Any other questions or comments? If one or two of you was shy to ask questions here and still have something on your mind, feel free to come and grab a hold of us. Preferably before I get too much of the beverage.
But if you want to talk discount, that's a good time to talk.
I'm very social, so you can still come and talk to me. Goody. Thanks a lot for showing up. I really appreciate it. As you probably figured already, I kind of enjoy standing up here. So I should probably have been a comedian or something instead if I'd been clever in my younger days. But different story. Thanks a lot for your time. See you hopefully in the hospitality suite, in the banquet tonight, and in the meetings tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you want to talk any more with Tommy or any one of us, obviously we have our booth up there, but like Tommy mentioned, we've got a hospitality suite, and he'll be available to talk to if you have some questions that weren't answered. Definitely approach one of us. We really look forward to it, and we enjoy working with companies like Van Miko and Scove because we're all trying to be better. I think at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we have guys like Tommy come in and present things that he does and share his knowledge that he's gained over his lifetime with the rest of us, because I think at the end of the day, he said it is all about money, but I think we want to be the best we can possibly be. So thank you guys for taking the time. I really, really do appreciate you guys showing up, and hopefully we'll talk to you afterwards. So thank you guys very much.